The NBA is full of great defenders, and some NBA teams even have more than one elite defender on their roster, so in today's video I will be listing my top 10 best defensive duos. Number 10, Jarred Vanderbilt and Anthony Davis. Vanderbilt and AD are two game-changing defenders. You can put either of them in on any team and they will skyrocket their team's defensive success. Anthony Davis is arguably the best defender in the NBA when he's healthy. He's an elite rim protector who's currently averaging 2 blocks per game. Davis is also one of the most versatile defensive centers we have in the league. He has showcased on many different occasions his ability to defend and lock up smaller wings and even guards. His defense can be a little inconsistent at times and his motor can be questionable, but as of late that hasn't been a problem, and although he's averaging 1.6 blocks over his last 6 games, his defensive presence and impact is much more than that. And as for his defender in crime Vanderbilt, I label him as the scariest defender in the NBA for a reason. He has amazing defensive instincts which he uses in the passing lanes. At 6'9" he can guard any wing player in the league and even guards. And we all saw how he defended Luka. He's been doing that for years. He's just a very versatile and high IQ defender. Number 9, OG and Pascal. This Toronto duo has been great on the defensive end this year, especially OG, who's averaging 2 steals per game. OG is also one of the more physically gifted defenders in the NBA. He's 6'7" and weighs over 230 pounds. He can guard 1 through 4 at an elite level, making him extremely versatile. And as for Pascal, he shares that same versatility. He can defend 4 and sometimes even 5 positions on the court, and for some reason he's been very underrated on the defensive end. He's an elite defender who possesses many defensive qualities that many players at his size don't have. Number 8, Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert. This is definitely one of the more underrated duos on the list, and just because Gobert isn't in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation doesn't mean he still isn't an elite defender and rim protector. The Timberwolves are 11th in defensive rating, and he's a huge reason why. The 7'1" giant isn't the most mobile, but there aren't many inside defenders who protect the rim like he does. And for Jaden McDaniels, he's having an even better defensive year than the former Defensive Player of the Year Gobert. McDaniels is an exceptional on-ball defender who's also a good shot blocker, making him one of the most unique defenders in the league. The 6'10" wing is arguably the best at navigating screens and sticking to a player's hip. He has great defensive instincts, and it's just incredible to see how far he has come since his rookie season. Number 7, Mikal Bridges and Nic Claxton. Bridges was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year last season, and although that's not the case this season, that doesn't mean he still isn't one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He's a great on-ball defender who can guard 1 through 3 better than the majority of the NBA. He's also good at getting over and under screens. And for Nic Claxton, he's averaging a monstrous 2.5 blocks per game. He has multiple games with over 6 blocks this season, but that's not even the most intriguing part of his game. He's one of the most versatile defensive centers in the game, and his mobility on the perimeter is what has had him so high on the Defensive Player of the Year ladder. Number 6, Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. This giant defensive duo is on here for a reason. They're anchoring arguably the best defense in the NBA. The Cavaliers are also 3rd in the NBA in points allowed in the paint, so it's safe to say they're doing their jobs on that end of the floor. And to further prove this, they both are top 6 in contested shots per game, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. And there is definitely an argument to be made for them to be a little higher on the list, but we have even more great duos. Number 5, Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins. It's only right this duo is this high because not only did they put on an amazing defensive performance in last year's NBA Finals, but they've still produced at that same level all season. But the reason they aren't higher is because the Warriors haven't had the best total team defensive success, and with Wiggins being out of the lineup right now, it's hard to guess when he'll come back. But nonetheless, he's a great on-ball defender who can guard the best scorers in the league. Number 4, Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams are one of the best duos in the NBA for many different reasons, and if I made this list last year, they would have definitely been higher. But with Williams being out for injury at the start of the season and not being 100% even now, it kind of puts this duo back a couple spots. Marcus Smart is still one of the best all-around defenders of this era. He can defend guards, wings, and even some centers and smaller forwards. He's also elite at ball screen navigation and at getting steals. And for Robert Williams, he has had a good defensive season, but definitely not great. He averaged 2.2 blocks last season, and he's now only averaging around 1.2 blocks per game, but nonetheless they are still an elite duo even without being fully healthy. Number 3, Bam and Jimmy Butler. The Miami Heat are 8th in defensive rating, and these two are the main reasons why. Bam is the most versatile defensive center we have in the league, and honestly, he's the most versatile defensive center I've seen in a minute. He can legitimately defend all 5 positions, and as for Jimmy Butler, he still has some of the quickest hands and fastest reaction time in the game, even at 33 years old. He's a lockdown defender who has the perfect combination of physicality, IQ, and anticipation. This duo is fun to watch, and I'm interested to see just how well they defend in the playoffs. Number 2, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Dillon Brooks. The Memphis Grizzlies are the second best defense in the NBA, and it's no surprise because they have two players who were both in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation this season at the same time. Jackson is a hyper-athletic defender who pulls off some of the most athletic and jaw-dropping blocks you'll ever see. He's averaging 3.1 blocks per game, and he's also number 1 in the defensive LeBron stat that measures a player's defensive impact per 100 possessions. And as for Dillon Brooks, he's a top 10 on-ball defender while also being the very best off-ball chaser, which shows you just how much effort he puts in when guarding players. He's a tough and physical defender who can defend 4 positions at a high level, and remember, he weighs a little bit over 220 pounds, so he has the body to compete with anyone. Number 1, the Greek Freak and Brook Lopez. Okay, this one is strange because I couldn't pick between Lopez and Jrue Holiday or the Greek Freak and Brook Lopez, but it really doesn't matter honestly because which duo you pick for the Bucks is still the best in the league. Brook Lopez is having the best defensive year of his career, averaging 2.5 blocks per game while also being number 1 in contested shots per game, so he's arguably the best defensive center in the NBA right now, and the Greek Freak is still one of the best help side defenders we have in the league. And then you have Jrue Holiday, who's the best on-ball defender in the NBA. They truly have an incredible defensive team, and they're the third-ranked defense. You have Brook Lopez playing unreal defense. And then you have two of the clutchest defenders in the NBA on his side. But that's all for today's video. Let me know who you think is the best defensive duo in the NBA. And if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more NBA defense.